I'll find out about it.
So,
Don't connect anything to anything.
well, so first of all, of course, I'm honored to be here, very much. And also, I've got a very bad cold, so I'm sort of hearing myself speaking, and so I hope I get through this, but it'll be fine. But basically, I think Internet of Things, security is a process, and as a process, is distributed over objects, people, and the environment. So basically, what is IoT? Is linking up the body area network, the local area network, the wide area network, and the very wide area network. So basically, you link up the body, the home, the car, and the city. Google's been doing that pretty well. So Google has the glass and the lens for the body, and you go home and you sync into the power meter. Didn't really work, so buying Nest was a good idea, waking everybody up. And then I sync the data coming from my glass and my lens into my Nest, and then I go into my car, and Google's working on the car, and then sponsoring basically every open data initiative in the world, and basically lots of things happening in the library. So I think this was a logical vision, and it's also the logical vision for IoT, because if you're not able to have and host and play back to people data in all their networks, you will not be able to give them the ultimate, which is like the scenario now. So whoever ensures traceability, sustainability, security, linking up these gateways, and this is why we want the Internet of Things, giving us the best possible feedback on our health, best possible resource allocation in our homes, the best possible alignment of local and global situations for resource allocation. But I think we've been hearing a little bit about volcano, but this is a volcano outburst reading. And for about 60 to 70 years, maybe even more, volcanologists tried to get data out of, or information out of the middle layer, and they couldn't. So at one point there was a physicist, Bernard Chouet, and he locked himself up in his room with a lot of these readings, and he looked at the lower layer below, and there he found the information because the data was over there. So what really, really intrigued me was that for a long, long amount of time, a particular group of people were able to try to get information out of a layer of data, but basically the data was not there. So I would like to argue that these gateways, because the products are gateways, and the platform and the app are in public hands. And I'm going to do it provocatively by proposing identity management as a kind of lever. This is basically Steve Jobs. When he came back to Apple, he closed down. First thing he did was closing down the Forward Advanced Research Group, saying research will be done in a crucible of development. And then that's where we see the iPod and the iPhone, and we saw the immense amount of massive creativity sort of focused on the here and now, building on the here and now. And he basically said, okay, we have a space of flows, and so where's the agency? It's in the device. If I have the device, I control what goes in, I control what goes out. I can even control the telcos, which he did. So basically, that's what we can also do, and I think a lot of people are thinking about this at this moment, because I think it's been said 3 times now today, we need a kind of time out. We need a kind of a little time out in which we want to look at the state of all the actors and look at the agency of all the actors in the system, and then redefine this into a new way. Because in one way, if we are now all going to book a flight to Barcelona, we're all paying a different price. And given sort of the killer app of retail, probably within 3 to 5 years, there'll not be one more single fixed pricing anywhere in the supermarkets or basically anywhere else. You go and get a meal, you get your price. You put your phone to a package of coffee, you get your price. Now, if you say I don't really buy that, then I also said that you wouldn't have really bought that 5 or 10 years ago if I would have said that we can close down the plane and then give you us all specific indicators, and these indicators will then be in the hands of particular agents. We have no control over these agents. We also do not know what the real indicators are that go into the algorithms that give us our price, not your price, but my price. So these things are happening now. I think Airbnb is not going to build social housing. Uber is not going to pay for the potholes in our roads. So what we are seeing at the moment is a massive move of agency public agency into the hands of players that we cannot, in all certainty, hold accountable. So in such a world, security becomes a process. And as a concept, it needs to be distributed over the person, objects, and the immediate surroundings. So aiming to do security on any of these levels, but not all, is not an option. It's become a really container concept. Just in the UK, the UK business is losing 18 billion sort of every year. But the next year they spend 16 billion sort of repairing the hacks. So I would say, yeah, the sort of like the security and hackers and sort of the whole hyping of security in particular is a bit suspect. This notion of cybersecurity, I would say, is pretty much dead. So we have to take the whole situation to a new level, which is basically a pragmatic cybernetics. Now, we've been used to dealing with three group of actors in our architectures: citizens and end users and industry and governance. And they all have particular sets of qualities. Now, what we're seeing, what we already saw with the net happening, what we will see more with Internet of Things, is more new entities. And these entities will consist of qualities taken from each of these three groups. It's very difficult to predict which is going to happen. At the moment, we see a lot of these things happening in blockchain and in banking, and there's something called DNARS coming up, which is promised to be sort of revolutionary there. We see these indicators and agents building social identities on our indicators, giving us prices, now still in relatively closed environments like the plane, but with NFC, RFID, QR codes, and barcodes, we're rapidly closing down that whole system. So these new entities, they are building, and they should build, the governance for new types of decision-making structures. So I propose kind of pragmatic clean slate. At the outer ends, we have the top ability to rethink the passport as a device on the back of, in Europe, on the back of the Estonian e-card. Already 70 to 80% of all services in Estonia are running off this card. It's already now a service, so you can have the card as a service. You don't have to be living in Estonia. I'm project lead for Dyne.org, DAOs. We're building a router, a kind of alternative router, which will give you access to the network layer. So you can actually see what goes in and what goes out of your house. We have a few of them running. They're running faster than the current routers, and they're also giving better Wi-Fi spread. We're building them on Raspberry Pis. And as the price of these are going down, looks like we'll be able to come out with a few of them within a few months. Now, within these layers, we have the notion of this multimodal security, because in the Internet of Things, there's so many contextual evidence that I'm here, that you're there, that we're there, that thinking about item-level security or thinking about system-level security is not really where things are going to happen. It's going to happen in the middle. And in the middle, there is this multimodal notion of, for example, identifying users on gait recognition, daily patterns based on their devices. So I think these are sort of the three things that are sort of happening. Now, do we want them? Well, maybe we don't really want them. But are they going to happen? Yes. I think they're going to happen. Because on the one hand, it's clear that too many value, also value which will be added value, because new services based on top of that value will be played back, is moving away out of public hands that we as European citizens paid up with our taxes. And it's not just us, it's the whole BRIC, and it's of course also China. In this development plan, we hear that under the policy guidance and financial support from national and local government, fully used of the resource of industry parks, enterprises, research institutes, etc., and also other resources, establish a resource shareable complementary public service platform. I've been advising IoT China for the past, in Shanghai for the past 5 years. I can of course not vouch for sort of the fact that this would be a reality or this would be true, but there's a lot of contextual evidence, and especially with the fact that the last Chinese government had 9 out of top politicians engineers, is already basically running the country like a platform. So this means that these notions of cybernetics or pragmatic cybernetics are going to be key. Of course, the problem that we have today is that our politicians, sometimes we don't even take it's a bit of worry to talk to them because we lose so much time trying to explain sort of what's going on. But somehow we're going to have to try, because underneath the notion of that there's still some kind of democratic decision making, which is no longer really the case. We may be losing the enormous amount of public agency. And I think that if you want to build a smart society, let's say talk about Europe, then it needs to be for 500 million people. It needs to be a smart Europe. It doesn't need to be a Europe with a few smart gated communities. Now, if you want to build a smart Europe, you want to build a smart environment for everybody, you may have to resort to certain technical solutions that you may not want, but that may be the only option that you at one point have. So here's our best, one of the best Dutch artists, Sebastian Ader. We lost him at sea. He left Holland about 20 years ago in a little boat, and it was a big brass band playing. And the idea was that he would sail to the America, and that there would be a brass band there, sort of welcoming him. But we lost him at sea. So maybe he's in an island somewhere with friends, but probably not. Probably his boat didn't really make it. But it's a beautiful movie, and this is a still clip from that movie, where we see him on his bike, and he's on his bike, and he's crossing the bridge, and then, as any normal person would either go straight or fall, he drives straight into the canal. And with this, he creates a kind of third moment. He creates a kind of option that wasn't there before. So because we go straight or we fall, but we don't drive straight into that water. But he did. So I think we have a fantastic global interoperability. We have particular needs for localization. Let's try to find a third way.